The year 2025 is marked by a dramatic US-China trade war, with tariffs once again at the center of American foreign policy. President Trump has revived and expanded tariffs, targeting everything from Chinese electric vehicles to household appliances, while the Biden administration has imposed new tariffs on pharmaceuticals. This bipartisan embrace of tariffs has deepened the economic rivalry between the US and China, with both sides escalating duties and retaliatory measures. American businesses and consumers are caught in the crossfire, facing rising costs and uncertainty. China has responded with its own tariffs, targeting key American exports and fueling a cycle of economic pressure. Temporary truces have paused the most extreme tariffs, but tensions remain high and the economic landscape is shifting rapidly. The global community watches anxiously, fearing that the standoff could destabilize international trade for years. The story of the 2025 tariff standoff is still unfolding, with major consequences for everyone involved. The conflict is no longer a simple back and forth, it's a complex web of policy shifts and economic brinkmanship. Businesses struggle to plan for the future, unsure of what costs they'll face next month. Consumers are already feeling the impact at the checkout counter. The world's two largest economies are locked in a high-stakes contest, and the outcome remains uncertain. This is a new chapter in global trade, one that could redefine economic relationships for a generation. In spring 2025, the Trump administration shocked global markets with a rapid series of tariff hikes, including a 34% reciprocal tariff and a new 20% tariff on all Chinese goods. Within days, tariffs on many Chinese products soared to 145%, throwing supply chains into chaos. China retaliated with its own tariffs, reaching as high as 125% on American exports. The escalation threatened a complete breakdown in trade relations, with industries from electronics to furniture bracing for disaster. In May, a surprise 90-day truce reduced tariffs to a more manageable 30%, offering temporary relief to businesses and consumers. But as the truce's expiration approached in August, anxiety returned. Would tariffs snap back to crippling levels? The White House extended the truce for another 90 days, averting immediate crisis and hinting at a possible Trump-Xi summit. Yet the peace is fragile, and the global economy remains on edge. The cycle of escalation and truce has left businesses in a state of constant uncertainty. Even with lower tariffs, costs remain high and planning is difficult. The threat of renewed escalation hangs over every negotiation. The world is watching, waiting to see if this truce will hold, or if the trade war will erupt once again. The stakes for the global economy have never been higher. While Trump's tariffs dominated headlines, the Biden administration made its own move, announcing a 20% tariff on imported prescription drugs and their core ingredients, effective January 1, 2026. The goal: reduce America's reliance on foreign medical supply chains, especially as 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients come from China and India. This marks a bipartisan shift. Tariffs are now seen as tools for national security, not just economic leverage. The pharmaceutical industry warns these tariffs will raise drug prices for Americans, creating a tough trade-off between security and affordability. India and China have condemned the move, calling it protectionist and threatening countermeasures. The Biden administration's decision signals a new consensus in Washington. Some industries are too critical to leave vulnerable, even if it means higher costs at home. The global trade dispute has a new front, and the consequences will be felt worldwide. One of the most surprising twists in the trade saga was the reversal of John Carney, a top Biden economic advisor and longtime tariff critic. Carney, once a staunch opponent, publicly endorsed the new pharmaceutical tariffs, citing extraordinary threats to national security from America's reliance on foreign medicine. He argued that the risk of dependency outweighed the economic costs, signaling a major shift in Washington's thinking. Carney's change of heart gave credibility to the administration's policy and showed that the debate over tariffs now transcends party lines. This pivot reflects a broader rethinking of globalization. Efficiency and low cost are no longer the only priorities. The fragility of global supply chains exposed by recent crises has policymakers reconsidering protectionist measures for critical industries. Carney's evolution from free trade advocate to strategic tariff supporter may shape U.S. trade policy for years to come. The era of unquestioned free trade is over. National security and resilience are now at the forefront. Washington's new consensus is reshaping the rules of global commerce. The 2025 tariffs are hitting American families where it hurts: their wallets. When the U.S. imposes tariffs, importers pay the tax and pass the cost to consumers, raising prices on everything from electronics to furniture. The furniture industry, for example, saw imports from China drop over 50%, leading to higher prices and fewer choices for shoppers. The auto industry is also feeling the pain, with new tariffs on imported cars and parts driving up sticker prices, even for American-made vehicles. For families, this means higher monthly payments and tough choices at the dealership. Even with the truce, the 30% tariff rate is a heavy burden, especially as retailers prepare for the holiday season. Customs duties collected by the Treasury soared to nearly $30 billion in July alone, a cost ultimately paid by consumers. The impact of tariffs is no longer abstract. It's a daily reality for millions of Americans. Rising prices and shrinking options are the new normal. Businesses and families alike are struggling to adapt. The trade war's effects are felt in every household budget. The true cost of tariffs is measured at the checkout counter. China has responded to U.S. tariffs with its own, targeting American agricultural and energy exports to maximize political and economic pressure. Beyond reciprocal tariffs, China imposed a 75% anti-dumping tariff on U.S. industrial plastics, shutting out American producers for years. This targeted approach shows China's willingness to use regulatory tools to hit specific U.S. industries. The complexity of the trade war is magnified by tariff stacking, multiple tariffs layered on a single product. A Chinese import might face a base 25% tariff, a fentanyl tariff, and a reciprocal tariff, sending effective rates sky high. For example, Chinese electric vehicles now face tariffs of over 130%, making them uncompetitive in the U.S. market. These stacked duties create chaos for American companies, distorting prices and disrupting supply chains. While the goal is to reduce imports, the result is massive uncertainty and higher costs for everyone. Businesses struggle to calculate true costs, and consumers pay the price. The trade war's complexity is a nightmare for importers. Tariff stacking has become a defining feature of this economic conflict. The Trump administration's aggressive tariffs are facing major legal challenges in U.S. courts. In May, a federal court ruled that some tariffs may have exceeded presidential authority, questioning the legal foundation of key trade actions. The White House appealed, but the uncertainty has cast a shadow over trade policy. If the courts rule against the administration, billions in tariffs could be refunded to importers, a huge blow to the Treasury, and a political setback. The legal battle centers on whether national security justifies such broad tariffs, or if they're simply economic protectionism. The outcome could reshape the balance of power between the president and Congress on trade. For businesses, this legal limbo adds yet another layer of uncertainty. The final verdict may be years away, but its impact will be profound. The U.S.-China tariff war has drawn sharp criticism from allies and trading partners worldwide. Expanding steel and aluminum tariffs to all countries has angered Europe, North America, and Asia, who see these moves as protectionist and contrary to global trade rules. The Biden administration's pharmaceutical tariffs have sparked backlash from India and China, both threatening countermeasures and warning of supply chain disruptions. International bodies like the WTO have been sidelined, as the U.S. favors unilateral action over multilateral solutions. Allies worry that America's approach could trigger a global free-for-all of tariffs, risking a worldwide economic slowdown. Some countries are strengthening regional trade blocs or filing complaints with the WTO, but uncertainty prevails. The consensus: the tariff war is a lose-lose, raising costs and eroding trust in the global trading system. The stability that underpinned decades of prosperity is now at risk. The world is searching for alternatives as U.S. leadership in global trade is questioned. The endgame remains unclear, but the damage is already being felt. The events of 2025 have left Americans facing rising prices and economic uncertainty. The current 90-day truce expires in November, just as the holiday season begins, raising fears of a return to crippling tariffs. A potential Trump-Xi summit could bring a breakthrough, but deep disagreements make a lasting deal unlikely. Legal challenges to presidential tariff authority could reshape the trade landscape, while new pharmaceutical tariffs threaten to spark further retaliation. The trade war is expanding, with risks of escalation on multiple fronts. The bipartisan embrace of tariffs signals a long-term shift in U.S. trade strategy. Protectionism is replacing free trade. The consequences for global stability and American prosperity will unfold in the months and years ahead. The great tariff standoff of 2025 is far from over, and its impact will be felt by all.